Are you someone that's currently weightlifting? If I were to ask you what your movement prep is, would you be able to tell me? Hi, I'm Alicia Clark, and I'm a master indoor rowing instructor with You Can Row 2 and a CrossFit Level 1 trainer. In this video, I'm going to go over what movement prep is in regards to weightlifting, why it's important, and to go over some examples for some of the main lifts and to help you get those ideas churning in your mind in case you don't already do movement prep, or maybe you do it, but you didn't realize that that is what it was. So, what is movement prep? For weightlifting, it's really important, not just beyond warming up, cardio wise for your workout. It's important to prime your muscles. That's big thing number one, right? Prime your muscles for the lift that you're going to be doing. You're going to want to prepare differently before squatting than you would before overhead pressing. And you're going to want to prepare differently for benching than you would deadlift or something like that. So with the main lifts, depending on the one that you're doing that day, typically movement prep will help you for that main lift. And we'll get into examples later. So priming the muscle is number one. Also loosening up anything. So with squats, you might be loosening up your ankles, your hips, with deadlift, your hamstrings, so it's also can be some active stretches to help loosen up your body. Also, movement prep can be really useful for warming up your core. For a lot of the big compound movements, our core is really essential to do these lifts, and it's important to make sure that your core is warmed up at the same time. So your movement prep can do a combination of get you ready for your lift and warm up your core at the same time. Movement prep does not need to take a long time. 5 minutes is really all you need to move through a couple of exercises to feel much better and ready for your lift. I already touched a little bit on the why. So the why for why you want to do this movement prep is to get the right places in your body warmed up, loosened, primed, ready to go. So things, again, I mentioned the ankles for the squats, making sure that that range of motion is moving really well. That's one example. I know I talk a lot about rowing too on my channel, so you can also do movement prep before you row just to help you loosen up. Maybe you're a little bit sore, kind of help work some things out before you hop on the machine. With movement prep, coaches of all different breeds are going to do it differently. Some are going to incorporate it straight into their warm-up, and they might not even call it movement prep, right? And that's totally fine. I like to have my clients do 5 minutes of some light cardio, and then we go into our movement prep, and then maybe some extra core. Sometimes the core is mixed in with the movement prep. And so they know exactly like, hey, these are the exercises that are getting you ready to lift. Really pay attention to these and move through them very well. All right, moving on to examples, because that is what is going to be the most helpful. So for things like a squat, okay, I've mentioned already about loosening up the ankles. So I really like to use an ankle opener where you can use a weight to stretch that calf muscle, kind of help loosen it up a little bit. If you need to do some joint mobilization, that can be helpful too, if that's something that you find to be good. I also like to warm up, especially our back muscles, right? Because even though squatting is a leg movement, when we're bracing, we got that weight on our back, we still want to incorporate and brace with everything that we have. And so I like to do and incorporate things like Supermans or even planks for part of the squat warm-up. For things like deadlifts, I like to make sure that our back and our hamstrings are nice and warmed up. So again, core movements like the plank can be really good, or even some carries, suitcase, farmer, anything of that sort. And then I like to use prone W pull, something to really strengthen the shoulder blade muscles to get those nice and warmed up too before we really lock those in place for our deadlift. And of course, because I always have to talk about rowing, for rowing, it's very similar to deadlifting. So we want to loosen up the back and the hamstrings. It can be, again, those similar movements or toe touches, leg swings also work really well. Anything where you're laying on the ground and loosening up your back, like putting your knees from one side to the other, that can help really loosen up your back and get yourself ready to row. Again, these are just a couple examples. There's other things that you want to do when you're overhead pressing or really focusing on pulling, things to really get those small muscles warmed up and ready to go. If you want to see more examples of movement prep that you can do for your lifting and rowing, I do have a freebie that will be linked in the description, and you can go and download that, and it'll give you 3 options for every main lift. You don't have to do all 3, especially if you've got multiple main lifts going on in the day. I have some ones that are starred that are my favorites, give you some ideas to help you incorporate some movement prep into your workouts. If you have any questions on movement prep, feel free to drop them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed this and learn a lot. I hope to see you in the next video.